The end justifies the means. Your lifestyle or the cash flows that you'll be enjoying in your retirement will justify what you did with your riches in your 20s, in your 30s, and 40s. A spot check in the Government Bureau of Statistics gave a revelation that only 0.3%, about 75,000 individuals out of the millions in the working force, are earning over 100,000 shillings. A glim picture is painted by the same statistics which have also been collaborated by RBA, the Retirement Benefits Authority, that 50% of pensioners are earning up to 20,000 shillings. And worse still, we have 30% earning less than 10,000 shillings. The cash flow situation in your retirement is in your hands. You have your ability in your 20s, in your 30s, in your 40s to determine what shall be your cash flows in your retirement. A look into our society, our communities today. Pensioners are taking care of their mature children, grown-up children in their 20s, in their 30s. And some are taking care of their grandchildren. That is a harsh reality in the community. The incomes or the cash flows that you are enjoying in your 20s, in your 30s, and your 40s, that is the ability that you have at hand to determine what cash flows will be like in your retirement. Cash flows are the most important when you retire. It will no longer be about the assets. A situation whereby, as a retiree, you have a lot of wealth in assets that are not giving you any cash flow. Several acres in the middle of nowhere, an old plot that has zero tenant. Such situation where you will be having so much of assets but you have no cash flows, we will term you as asset rich but cash flow poor. This is how you are going to escape that poverty in retirement. Through this video, I'm giving you 5 secrets that if you take care of them in your 30s, in your 40s, and lucky for those who are applying them in their 20s, you will have escaped totally poverty in your post-55 years. We shall look at those 5 secrets after 3 seconds short break, so don't go away. In the meantime, give us a like to this video, engage in the comment section, and don't forget to share the video because it has value and it will be of great help to another person. See you after 3 seconds short break. Welcome back to our 5 secrets in escaping poverty in old age. Number 1 is be a good steward. To understand about stewardship, you need some level of wisdom. There is something that must form in your mind. And this one is look at yourself as 2 people in one. The first person that we are going to discuss is the employee. And the second person is a retiree. Those are 2 people in you today. The employee and the retiree is what makes up you. Whether you are running your own business as a self-employed person, you are still an employee. If you are on somebody's payroll, you are an employee. But picture this. If you are fired today, you don't stop living. Life will still continue. If as an employee, you remain in the payroll up to the day when you will be deemed that your assetness, your value has diminished and you need to be released. The name changes from employee and they call you a retiree. But life has to continue. You need to depend on something. You need cash flows. That wisdom is now what makes you look at those 2 people. There is you now, the employee, and you are transient. After some time, the employee will vanish. Then the retiree will continue living. What the retiree will live on is what is left by the employee. That is what will be the basic understanding. What the employee, that is you now in your 20s, in your 30s, in your 40s, is making, that is what the retiree should live on. But if you dare make mistake and you don't look at that picture, or that picture doesn't form in your mind, and for that reason you don't apply the other four, then you are destined to poverty in your old age. But remember, one thing that you will have lost in old age is your energy as a resource. And much of what you can do at that age, you need that energy. So you will have lost ability. And that is now what brings me back to stewardship. Who is a steward? Or how do you become a steward? A steward is a person who is managing resources belonging to another person, or a person managing resources or living on resources sustainably, knowing that once he is gone, somebody else will have to live on the same resources. So once you have that wisdom and you have that understanding of the steward, then know that the you who is the employee today, you are being taken care of by the employer because of the value that you have. Once that value is gone, you'll be dismissed, either by attaining the legal retirement age of 60 years, or you voluntarily release yourself by attaining your own set retirement age, which in other videos we have called freedom age, or by other means. So to be a steward is making sure that the cash flows that you are making as an employee today, the cash flows that you are making in your 20s, in your 30s, in your 40s, you need to live on them, survive on them sparingly, knowing that you need to keep aside so much so that when you be unable to actively generate cash flows, you will have enough that you have set aside to take care of yourself in old age. Because the moment you have understood that you now in your 20s, in your 30s, you are living so that the person coming behind you in your 50s, in your 60s, you'll be able to live comfortably. Further, you need to know that as an employee, you are being taken care of. There is that salary will disappear once you retire. That medical cover will not be there in your retirement. And those things, you need them. You need your monthly cash flow. Today, you are calling it a salary because you are an employee. That time, it won't have the name salary. But in any case, you will need a consistent, regular income in your old age because needs are permanent and habitual. So as a steward, the you who is not the employee and who will live to the retirement, you need now to work on your employee, who is you. You need to make sure that this employee does not eat everything that he is making. You need to tailor a lifestyle for the employee that leaves a lot aside that you will live on once you retire. And once that one has been done successfully, once you have understood that secret, then the next four will be now choosing on where to keep it, how to apply it, how to organize it, to maximize that cash flow in retirement. So the most important secret is that understanding that in your 30s, in your 40s, this person who is living and enjoying the active income is not the one who will be living after retirement. The employee will be gone and there is a new person who must live on the same incomes that the employee was generating. And that is where stewardship comes in. You have the resource of money. Those are the cash flows this time. You have the resource of time. And you have another resource that is very important of your energy. Those three resources need to be used by you now, the employee of 20s, 30s, and 40s, sparingly. Saving. And at this point, we need to look at what saving is. To save is to guard or to prevent what otherwise would have gone out as an expense from being spent. Guarding your income, that is saving. Then choosing where to put this saved income, the amount that you have not spent, choosing where to keep it. That is where you start the investment journey. So you can't invest where there was no saving. And saving is an element of good stewardship. So once we have done stewardship and we have engraved it in our minds and for purpose, then we move to item number 2, know your expenses. Where there is knowledge, there is control. Know your expenses. The steward has the income, and we are applying this income to non-expenses. If you don't know the expenses, you will never tell where the money went. Knowing your expenses will give you control that will enable you to direct your money where to go. And at that point, the amount that we are setting aside through stewardship in order to invest will form part of our expenses, or in the expense list it will feature. And that is the item that now we place number 1 in our expense list. And that is what now brings out what we refer to as paying yourself first. Yourself is that person who will live in retirement who is not working today. The employee is working today, but the employee and that person in retirement are in one. So you pay yourself first, having known your expenses and made this amount that the steward has deliberately decided to be setting aside. Out of that wisdom, you make it your expense number 1 in the list. And that is where paying yourself first comes in. Through the tax system, there is a lot that will have been taken at source by the HR, the employer, before it reaches you. That is also a part to consider in paying yourself. What has been taken from your payslip, your incomes, and has been set aside, meant for you in retirement, that is still part of what we are considering as paying yourself first. But if you take a consideration back into the statistics that we just analyzed in the introduction, what the government will set aside, there are so many people struggling to access their pension. There are some it takes 3, 4, 5 years, some to 10 years before they access their pension. In the current system, we have tier 1 and tier 2s. If your employer is keeping your tier 2 in a provident fund or in a retirement benefits management scheme that is outside the NSSF or the government system, you are lucky. But you can also organize as a person to be setting aside part of what you are paying yourself first in building wealth. We are building wealth to ensure that regardless of what happened regardless of what happened during this time, we will still be able to access sufficient cash flows in our retirement. Poverty is lack of cash flow in retirement. At that point, we don't want to be asset rich. We have so many things strewn all over, but we do not have cash flow. We want to be cash flow rich. For that reason, then, we move to number 3. Number 1, we had the stewardship. Number 2, we have a control of our expenses. Then number 3, we are looking at the incomes. You create and expand your incomes as much as possible. You might be limited in expanding your income through employment on paper-based employment, but you have other assets within you that you can monetize over time. Acquire a skill. Look at the people resource around you. You have a talent. Look at what you can monetize without jeopardizing your income or cash flow, number 1. Because there are so many ways that a side hustle as a business can destroy your cash flows. You need to evaluate what you need to do to enhance, expand your cash inflows, your incomes. In this case, you are exploiting the potential that you have in terms of skill, in terms of people, in terms of knowledge. Look at ways that you are going to monetize. In the equation of wealth creation, you are the most important asset in that equation. You are the main asset that generates your cash flows, your incomes. Exploit that potential. Then number 4, keep, don't spend. You have taken your expense list, you have expanded your incomes, and you have acquired the wisdom of a steward in this case. Keep as much as you can. Delay your gratifications. Don't spend. Use enough to make your life comfortable and keep as much as you can. Expand your savings. Acquire enough financial literacy, but not too much that you are not applying. Use that financial literacy to enable your accumulation by expanding your ability, which is your income. Accumulate as much as you can. It is these accumulated resources, the money that you are accumulating in whatever vehicle opportunity of your choice. We have so many places where you can park your money. The amounts that you are saving, they are adding up one month to the other. That addition is what becomes your accumulation. Pile as much as you can. Then number 5, allocate these piled or accumulated cash in building assets. You purchase a bond, that is a financial asset. You have enough in a money market fund, that is an asset. Maybe you have acquired a plot somewhere, that is an asset. You have acquired any other form. Keep accumulating these assets. But the quality of the asset matters a lot. We will need assets that are generating cash flows or assets that are enhancing your ability to generate cash flows. That building, once you have done your first asset, you have in your bank account, you have some cash. That is an asset. Cash is an asset. It has ability of generating more cash. You have chosen to put it in a money market fund. That is an asset. You have purchased a bill or a bond. You have some in a special fund. You have shares somewhere. One asset, once you acquire a second asset, a third asset, a collection of these assets is what will make up your wealth. In other cases, we'll be calling them portfolio. But portfolio is an arrangement, an assortment of assets that you have assigned a specific purpose. An emergency fund, a bill, some cash somewhere. When you put them together and make a portfolio, that could be your emergency fund. You have other assembled assets that will take care of your lifestyle expenses that become a lifestyle portfolio. But collectively, these assets that you have bought, when you put them together, that is your wealth. And the key word here is buying. The employee is a good steward, setting aside as much as they can in accumulation, they use it to buy assets. That is to say, the financial health, the financial freedom and independence that you want to enjoy in your retirement does not come for free. You buy it in your active years. You buy it in your 20s, in your 30s, in your 40s. Financial freedom is bought using our active income. That income you are making when you wake up every day, your 9 to 5, your side hustles, any other form of investment in your time, that is purchasing your financial freedom. You are purchasing your financial independence. You are purchasing all that to eliminate poverty in your old age. You keep on accumulating the assets while polishing quality of those assets to make sure these assets are income generating assets in old age. If you put those 5 secrets together, you have a very good formula of escaping poverty in old age. For your questions or comments, let's meet in the comment section. The comment section is our suggestion box. We'll always come back there to see what you want us to do next or what questions you have that maybe you want us to answer. Thank you for watching and see you in our next video.